Hey, squirrel friend! When one season of Drag Race ends, just announce another one. It's called binge programming. Go ahead, I support you. Hello everyone, my name is Roberto Cristian, but you may call me Robbie for short, and today we're giving Pokemon teams to the cast of RuPaul's Drag Race UK Series 5. With only 10 queens on the cast, every contestant will be a gym leader, and the winner will be the Pokemon Champion. This is an ongoing series with many more Drag Race seasons to cover. Make sure to subscribe to stay caught up on new videos. And without further ado, let's get started. Let's begin with our first eliminated contestant, Alexis St. Pete. She came to this competition with the goal of representing her home country of Poland. Out of the few looks she presented, I gave her a water type specialty, as the ones I chose share some cohesion. Her first Pokemon is Goldeen, based on her Pet Shop Girls Couture runway. She went with the story of mourning a pet goldfish for this runway presentation. While not the best look of the bunch, which is why she was ultimately sent home, I found the choice very funny for the purpose of this video. Her second Pokemon is Finneon, based on her look for the season premiere. This was the look that secured her water type specialty. I really enjoy how the bodice gives a marine-like feel with the decorative blue waves, and I love the shimmering blue-green colors of the skirt. The pieces around hips remind me of the fins on a betta fish, and the way they're shaped look familiar to Finneon's butterfly-like fins. Our next gym leader is the articulated and well-spoken Miss Naomi Carter. From the moment her promo look dropped, I thought of her as a grass-type specialist. Her first Pokemon is Maractus, based on that same promo look. Her outfit is inspired by a cactus, which made this a very quick choice. I really enjoy this pairing as the hair resembles the arms and stems of a cactus. Her second Pokemon is Eldegoss, based on her Fierce Impressions runway. This look is meant to represent Diana Ross, and I thought Eldegoss's giant cotton fluff was the best Pokemon to portray her fluffy, gorgeous afro. It's the hair, people. The hair says it all. Her final Pokemon is Snover, based on her Slaycation runway. Slaycation, all I ever wanted. Many of the looks from this category took us on an après-ski adventure, and Naomi's was no different. Snover is luckily a grass and ice type that could fit this role. A pretty simple choice if you ask me. Hold on to your rats because our third gym leader is Banksie. You could say she's a rat queen. The Last of Us Part 2 has really traumatized me. Banksie is definitely a fan favorite this season, and I personally was disappointed to see her go sooner than I expected. Something about the normal type is very fitting for Banksie in an ironic way, as her drag and even her gender identity is far from normal in our society. Her first Pokemon is Maushold, based on her looks from the first episode. The reasoning is quite simple. Her looks this episode incorporate mice, both in her shoes and in her hair. I suspect she has a love, or at least an admiration towards rats and mice because her final line on the runway was, "Aw, rats!" I can foresee Banksie being a frustrating early gym leader with a Pokemon like Maushold, who shook the initial competitive scene with his signature move, Population Bomb. Scratch that. I wrote the script, recorded, and then found out that Maushold learns the move at level 53. That is really disappointing. Moving on. Her second Pokemon is Dubwool, which I paired with her Pet Shop Girls Couture runway. Oh, I had fun with this choice. Remember that fight Banksie had in which she said that she felt like a lamb for slaughter after Vicki and Cara gave their opinions about their performances? Well kids, a lamb is a young sheep, and guess what Dubwool's evolutionary line is based on? I've said it many times, and I will continue to say it, this series writes itself. I paired Dubwool with this runway look because of the obvious matching color scheme. Her final Pokemon is Zangoose, based on her Fierce Impressions runway. I wanted a little something I hadn't used before, and I enjoyed how the red and white color scheme contrasts with this look. Zangoose is known for having a rivalry with Seviper, just like mongooses hunt snakes in real life. We also just talked about how Banksie was in an untucked fight against Vicki. And what a coincidence that our fourth gym leader happens to be Vicki Vivacious. That fight felt so appropriate that I gave Vicki a poison type specialty. I know that Vicki's brand revolves around Cornish pasties, but how would I connect that to Pokemon. Maybe the pasties are undercooked and that's why she's poison? I don't know. Her first Pokemon is Seviper, based on her Slaycation runway, and that untucked fight I keep referencing. If Banksie has a Zangoose, it only makes sense for Vicki to have its natural rival. Vicki mentioned in her confessional that she wanted to head on a honeymoon vacation to Route 66 in the US because she likes cowboys. I associate cowboys with tumbleweeds and arid climates, which is where you usually find snakes. Her second Pokemon is Marouli, based on her Pet Shop Girls Couture runway. Her look is inspired by Malibu Barbie, and Malibu is a city in the state of California. Marouli is based on the crown of thorns starfish, which can be found on the Pacific Ocean. This one's a bit of a stretch, but it makes sense to me. Her final Pokemon is Revavroom, based on her Mirror Mirror runway. This look was very fun. She based her concept on a motorcycle. She's wearing a helmet, and one could argue that her reflective material resembles the rearview mirrors. The choice of Revavroom is obvious as a Pokemon that is based on a motor engine. She's sticky, sweet, and dripping with talent. Our fifth gym leader is Cara. At first I thought that a fairy-type specialty would work well for a queen whose name is based on melted sugar, but then I remembered some of the other food-inspired Pokemon and decided instead on a dragon-type specialty. Her first Pokemon is Hisuian Sliggoo, based on her promo look. She truly went for a branding look here, as her outfit looks like she's dripping in caramel, and the golden armor-looking pieces remind me of Sliggoo's steel type. Sliggoo felt like an appropriate choice, as the Pokemon in this evolutionary line always have goo dripping from their bodies. Her second Pokemon is Tyrantrum, based on her Fierce Impressions runway. Her commanding presence in this look can be tied to Tyrantrum's Pokédex entry, which refers to it as having the presence of a king. Cara's outfit features an amber color that reminds me of amber fossils, which in turn remind me of Tyrantrum's origin as a fossil Pokemon. I also enjoy the connection of rock candy to Tyrantrum's rock typing. Her final Pokemon is Dipplin, which I paired to her Heart-On's runway. This is the star of the show, the reason for her dragon typing. Dipplin is based on the concept of a candy apple, or a caramel apple if you will. It was too perfect to pass up, and I mainly paired it with a Slowk for its deep red tones. Jesus Christ. I would say nothing's broken, but everything's fine. We're nearing the end as we approach our next challenger, the sixth gym leader, Butch. Her campy and quirky style of drag and comical personality, I think pairs well with a ghost-type specialty. Her first Pokemon is Trevenant, based on her Snatch Game performance, in which she played Kate Bush as a character. Kate Bush is currently most known for running up that hill because of Stranger Things. Kate Butch was holding a tree branch as a prop with a bunch of dead leaves in her hair. These subtle references to nature made it hard to pass up a Pokemon with a grass typing. Her second Pokemon is Dhelmise, based on her Heart-On's runway. Kate's look is inspired by the nautical style of the 1800s. Dhelmise is shaped like an anchor, which is a common motif associated with sailors. I chose this Pokemon since it's another grass type, and some of Kate's other looks incorporate flowers in some way. Her final Pokemon is Chandelure, based on her Pajama Rama runway. This is the main reason for her ghost type specialty. It was her best look on the show by far. I chose Chandelure particularly for the prop candle holder and the fake knife stabbed on her back. Next we have our seventh gym leader, eliminated just before the finale, DeDeLicious. Cara may not have ended up a fairy-type gym leader, but DeDeLicious certainly did. Dee is a sweet person, but can be a bit of a shady queen, as pointed out by Vicki Vivacious. What a coincidence that Vicki is a poison-type gym leader, and fairy types are weak to poison. Dee's first Pokemon is Aromatisse, based on her promo look. I enjoy the similar color palettes of this pair, and its thin nose reminds me of Dee's thin nose contour. Plus, its ears resemble the look's extravagant shoulder pads, of which Dee has a tendency for in many of her looks. Her second Pokemon is Darkspan, based on her Pet Shop Girls Couture runway. This look is another example of the big shoulder pads I just mentioned. The challenge for this runway was to design an outfit from materials you'd find in a pet store. Dee opted for a look that was in theme by incorporating a dog, of which Darkspan is obviously inspired by. Her final Pokemon is Slurpuff, based on her Rusical performance. In this challenge, Dee played the role of Dame Muffintop, a character covered in sweets and baked goods. It's a nice segue from the previous Pokemon we mentioned. Slurpuff in particular is a great choice, as it has a more muffin-like design that matches the character of Dame Muffintop. Finally, we have the season's runners-up as the alternating final gym leaders, depending on which game version you choose. This season does not have an Elite Four, much like the Galar region, so we'll give these two queens 4 Pokemon each since they serve as the final challenge before the champion. Let's continue with our 3rd place contestant, Tomara Thomas. She's one of the most charismatic queens to grace the Drag Race stage, and I feel that a Psychic-type specialty would be a great fit for her. Her first Pokemon is Swoobat, based on her Heart-On's runway. She's a nurse.
Come for me, nurse!
And nurses draw blood.
And nurses help people.
This idea reminded me of vampires, and as the Pokemon's name suggests, it's based on a bat. Swoobat's nose is shaped like a heart, which is also perfect for this runway. This runway category was recycled from season 14 of the American franchise, so I also recycled a Pokemon from that video. And you're not going to do anything about it because it's my video, and not yours. Her second Pokemon is Espathra, based on her Pet Shop Girls Couture runway. Espathra is a great choice for Tomara, as a queen with strong dancing legs and beautiful looks. She made this outfit from feathers, a perfect contrast for a flightless avian bird. Plus, the color scheme for this look matches perfectly. Her third Pokemon is Metang, based on her Mirror Mirror runway. Would you look at that? Another recycled season 14 runway that coincidentally looks similar to Bosco's. Tomara's is much better, however, and the robotic characterizations are what make me think of Metang, as its evolutionary line is known for being supercomputers. I thought it best to keep this as a second stage evolution though, as I find that having a fully evolved pseudo-legendary could be rather overpowered. Her final Pokemon is Farigiraf, based on her makeover look. I base this choice on Farigiraf's signature move, Twin Beam. It shoots mystical beams from its eyes that hit the target twice in a row. The name alone makes so much sense to me since Farigiraf has 2 sets of eyes, one set on its head and the other on its hood. It was a funny choice for this look, as a brief for the challenge is to embody family resemblance. Lastly, our final queen before we challenge the champion is Marouli. Michael definitely has a punk style that meets old school with modern drag. Given her tendency for metallic fabrics and accessories, I decided upon a steel-type specialty. Her first Pokemon is Corviknight, based on her Mirror Mirror runway. This choice is quite simple, as the look is entirely made from metallic materials. I searched online for her hometown of Newcastle and found the Angel of the North sculpture. It reminded me of her connection with the rest of the top 3, as they're all northern girls, calling themselves the Angels of the North. So I thought it was a nice reference to Corviknight's flying type. Her second Pokemon is a Alolan Dugtrio, which I paired with her entrance look for its similar colors. Just like her tendency for metallic fabrics, I noticed her often use of blonde hair. Simply put, Alolan Dugtrio has both of those characteristics combined. Plus, its ecological connection to Wugtrio made this an even more believable choice, as a species native to Paldea, which is based on Spain, where Michael currently resides. Her third Pokemon is Wormadam, based on her Pajama Rama runway. This has to be the campiest choice from this whole video. Wormadam may not be the strongest Pokemon from the bunch, but my gosh does it fit this look perfectly. She has so many items encrusted in her wig, which makes sense for Wormadam's trash cloak. Plus, the pink robe ties in very nicely. Her final Pokemon is Alolan Sandslash, based on her Finale Eleganza runway. Wow, wow, wow. What an amazing look. It had to be included. I debated on whether to include this look on her champion team for a future What If Michael Marouli Was Champion video, but the long nails were the deciding factor for me. Michael Marouli is originally from Newcastle, but moved to Gran Canaria, Spain, which made me think of how Sandslash evolved into this regional form after fleeing an erupting volcano. In Michael's case, I guess would be the other way around, from a colder to a warmer climate instead. Great job! You've defeated every gym leader. Now let's find out which Pokemon our champion will face you with. Last, we've reached our final challenge. One more trainer to face before receiving the coveted title of Pokémon League Champion. Ginger Johnson was a comedic force to be reckoned with in the competition, delivering consistently great performances every week. With 3 challenge wins and no bottom placements, I wanted her team to reflect how smart she is by giving her Pokemon that look non-threatening, but can still be competitively intimidating. Let's start with her first Pokemon, Tauros, based on her Finale Eleganza runway, and build a team around it. In her confessional, Ginger expressed how this outfit is inspired by the matadors of Spain. Tauros is categorized as the wild bull Pokemon, which makes perfect sense for this Spanish rodeo look. I opted for a Cantonian Tauros as I feel the colors match nicely, and she's not native from Spain. Her second Pokemon is Orbeetle, based on her Slaycation and poofs on parade runways. Here we're covering Tauros' weakness to fighting. I use these two looks to justify her choice of Orbeetle, as the former has a theme of vacation in space and a futuristic looking material. The latter is covered in polka dots, much like a ladybug, which Orbeetle is based on. Her third Pokemon is Orthworm, based on her Mirror Mirror runway. This look of Ginger's is her most memorable. It's a metallic outfit with no arms inspired by an earthworm. Orthworm fills this niche reference perfectly, and its steel typing takes the team's defenses to new heights, especially with its signature ability, Earth Eater, which makes it immune to ground by healing it instead. Her fourth Pokemon is a shiny Honchkrow, based on her Snatch Game performance. She played the character of Barbara Cartland, a notable English novelist. There's a joke to be made about her old age and writing with full pens, which makes this choice even more campy. I usually stray away from shiny Pokemon, but Ginger is a champion. An exception can be made for that pink sun hat that effortlessly matches Honchkrow's shiny form. Her fifth Pokemon is Azumarill, based on her Pajama Rama runway. This choice can easily be summarized with the bunny ears and slippers. Of all the bunny and rabbit Pokemon, Azumarill complements the team the most, covering many weaknesses of all the other party members. Azumarill's ears are also the closest to Ginger's bunny ears. Her final Pokemon is Flygon, based on her entrance look. This green and orange dress reminds me of the iridescent scales on dragonflies, of which Flygon's evolutionary line is based on. Flygon complements the rest of the party pretty well, covering for a third of the team's weakness to electric. Congratulations, Ginger Johnson! May your reign be prosperous and your drag even more preposterous. What do you think of my choices? Let me know in the comments below, and subscribe for more Pokemon content coming your way. Thank you so much for watching, leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and as always, I appreciate you being here. Bye!